Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO. Joining us on the phones right now, GOP political strategist Matt Mackowiak. Matt, good morning. How are you?
Morning, Chad. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing great. Appreciate you coming on today. Obviously, it's another busy week. President Trump over the weekend, obviously at this G7 summit or G7 get-together in Canada, there was, at the end of it, there were the trading of, I guess, insults or whatever after all was said and done. And how does this play for the average, everyday American? I know the news media is all in a huff and puff about it, and I know people are watching this play out on the news media side. But the average person, when it comes to trade and tariffs and a trade war, what are they reading into this, if anything?
Yeah, that's a good question. Look, I think a trade war obviously depends a lot on the specifics, right? What industries are affected, what jobs are affected. And what's clear so far is that the president has taken steps to utilize his authority, although his authority has been questioned in some cases, but use his authority to put tariffs on certain goods from certain countries. I don't think he's doing that as a long-term strategy. I think he's doing that as a tactical short-term strategy to try to get better trade deals for the United States, trade deals that are more fair, more reciprocal, and the predictable response to that tactical decision that they've made is that the countries who have had tariffs put on their goods have responded in kind. And so it's a bit of a race to the bottom right now. And so I think for a lot of people, they feel good about the direction of the economy because the numbers have been so strong. But the risk here on the trade story is it could cut into the positive gains that are being made across the economy, whether it be wages, whether it be private sector hiring, whether it be consumer confidence, whether it be real estate, which continues to go up. So there's a lot of positive news out there. Again, I think the best-case scenario for the Trump team is that these tariffs are not long-term policy, but that they're short-term tactics in an attempt to announce new trade deal with China, a new NAFTA, whether that be individually with Mexico and Canada or together. But so far, I don't know that it's necessarily working out the way the Trump team wanted it to.
It'll be interesting to watch because the media, when Trump got involved in this, a possible trade war with China, not a lot has come out, since then except for this is posturing. This is a negotiation tactic. And it seems to me that the media, they're the only ones who seem to not understand that. Everybody else is just kind of watching and seeing what happens.
Yeah, that's right. And what also is kind of funny to me about that is, the Democrats have been basically the party of protectionism since the 40s or the 50s. They were for tariffs before they were against them. Now that Trump is utilizing them as a tactic. So, what I think was a little bit unusual is to see the President of the United States speak about the leader of Canada in that way. Now, that said, I think it has to be pointed out that, and this is according to two White House officials who were on the Sunday shows, that apparently Trudeau and Trump were meeting privately, and it went very well, and they were making good progress on some of these trade issues. And then once Trump left, Trudeau did a press conference and said some things that really bothered Trump and his team. So they kind of felt like that was sort of a unnecessary step, and that they had to respond to that. So, again, this is unusual, right? Canada's, our largest trading partner. They've been a great ally to the United States for a very long time. And that's one of the things about the G7 is, these are the countries who've been our greatest allies across the world for decades. And so to see, a sharp disagreement on a major economic issue play out in public is pretty rare. Disagreement in private with your allies is fine. A disagreement in public weakens that alliance and could have other effects down the line. I understand why Trump is doing what he's doing. He feels like the United States has already been in a trade war, and they've been losing that trade war for decades, and this is something he promised as a candidate. It's an issue he's very passionate about. But so far, I don't think this is quite working out the way he wanted it to. That said, if they can get some better trade deals with some of these countries, he may have lost short-term but won long-term.
Let me ask you something, because you brought up that Trump had run on this, that he had campaigned on evening out trade and making things more fair for Americans. You hear from a lot of, whenever anyone's running for president, they make a lot of promises. And some of the things that they promise, if actually done, things could get ugly, and it's not pretty. And, they always say, politics, and you don't want to see how politics is really played out in the media. Is this what it looks like when a candidate sticks to what they tell people they're going to do, that it gets a little ugly in Washington, D.C., and maybe around the world?
It can. I think even more than that, Chad, it's that, look, I mean, Trump is fundamentally disruptive,
Right.
He ran and he won because he promised he would change things in a lot of ways. He's certainly done that on immigration. He's certainly done that in terms of improving the private sector economy, and he's attempted to do that on trade, and so far he is, I think, changing things. Again, I don't know that the long-term results are known yet, but sure. I mean, part of what bothers the establishment and the elites about Trump is that not only did he say these things, but that he's now doing them. And many candidates promise things and then either don't do them or do them in half measures because they sort of get co-opted by national politics and by donors and lobbyists and folks like that. So he is definitely shaking things up. There's no question about that. I think the jury is out on whether these tactics he's using on trade are ultimately going to benefit the United States of America or not.
Yeah. Let's talk about the summit tomorrow. I don't think Trump can come away from this looking bad unless, it just completely collapses and Kim Jong-Un is out running laps around Trump, and I don't see that happening. What are your expectations? What are your thoughts on this summit coming up tomorrow?
Yeah, it'll actually be tonight, U.S. time, because they're 12 hours ahead in Singapore. But so, look, I think we have to be honest about what this is. This is a 2 or 3 hour meeting.
Yeah.
I believe the North Korean leader has a 2 p.m. flight Singapore time on Tuesday. So they're not going to get a major agreement in 2 or 3 hours. The issues are far too complicated. But the fact that he's meeting with the North Korean leader is historic. That's why it's getting all the coverage it is already, and it'll be wall-to-wall tomorrow. I think the opportunity that exists is, what are the issues that are going to be discussed? Can they get a statement of principles that they can announce? Can they get even some short-term agreements, perhaps the resumption of diplomatic relations, perhaps a public statement from Kim confirming that he's willing to denuclearize? These are the kinds of steps, I think, that would build confidence. And then, of course, the process going forward. Is Kim going to come to the United States, perhaps to Mar-a-Lago? Will they meet somewhere else in the next few months? Will their deputies and some of the principals meet in the next few months to hammer out more details? Everything we're seeing so far is actually encouraging. I mean, not just the fact that they both are there after there was some uncertainty about whether this would happen, but it sounds like from Secretary of State Pompeo, who gave a briefing this morning, that he's very encouraged about the direction this is all going. So, we'll see. North Korea and its leader are very unpredictable. There's very little known about the regime. I saw a story, I forget where it was, that most of the North Korean citizens don't even know the summit is happening because they don't have a free press. It's one of the most repressive and closed regimes in the world. So, look, this is historic. Trump likes to be a deal maker, and he has talked about knowing right away whether Kim is serious or not. I guess if Kim plays games, I think Trump is prepared to walk away from the table. So I think that possibility is certainly exists.
Yeah.
I actually think both sides want a deal, so my guess is that they'll have a positive first meeting.
Very good. Matt, tell folks where they can sign up for your newsletter and what your podcast is over right now.
Yeah, the newsletter, as a lot of your listeners know, is called Must Read Texas. We take all the top news from around the state, put it in one email, and deliver it to you every weekday morning. 3,000 Texans receive it. You can sign up for a free 1-week trial at mrtsignup.com. The podcast is called Mac on Politics. 86 or 87 episodes now, 116 five-star ratings in the iTunes store. You can find it anywhere you find podcasts. Latest episode is with Sean Davis, who has been following the Mueller inquiry very, very closely. He's a co-founder of the Federalist. It's a great conversation.
Very good. Matt, as always, appreciate your time.
Thanks. Good luck to Texas and Texas Tech today. We hope they both make it to Omaha.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matt.
Take care.
Appreciate it. Chad Hasty Show, KFYO.